Good evening and welcome. Tonight, we take a hard look at the events shaping our world. Events that might seem worlds away, but in reality, hit closer to home than you might think. Welcome to our in-depth look at major global news and how they affect America. From natural disasters to international conflicts, we'll explore the ripple effects felt across the United States. We'll delve into the complex web of global interconnectedness, examining how events on the other side of the planet can impact our economy, security, and way of life. Tonight we cut through the noise, the spin, to get to the heart of the matter. We'll separate what matters from what's simply noise, and provide you with context and analysis you can trust. This past year alone, we've seen the raw, devastating power of nature unfold across the globe. Earthquakes in Turkey and Syria, leaving tens of thousands dead, entire cities reduced to rubble. The images, hard to comprehend, the human toll, almost unfathomable. But beyond the immediate tragedy, there's a ripple effect. These disasters don't respect borders.
The earthquake in Turkey, a major hub for manufacturing and shipping, sent shockwaves through global supply chains. American businesses, reliant on those goods, suddenly facing delays, shortages, and rising costs. Those costs inevitably pass down to American consumers.
And then there's the humanitarian response. When disaster strikes, the United States has always been there, a beacon of hope, providing aid, expertise, and comfort. That generosity, however, comes at a price tag, one that impacts our own budget and resources. From the wildfires raging in Australia to the devastating floods in Pakistan, the increasing frequency and intensity of these natural disasters paint a stark picture, one of a changing climate, a planet under stress.
The World Bank estimates that climate change could push over 100 million people into poverty by the year 2030. That's 100 million more souls facing hunger, displacement, and conflict. And where do you think those refugees will seek refuge? Where do you think those economic migrants will try to build a better life? The answer is clear. The United States remains a beacon of hope, a land of opportunity.
And while we should be proud of that legacy, we must also be realistic about the challenges ahead. Because a world grappling with climate change is a world grappling with instability. From the battlefields of Ukraine to the tense standoff with North Korea, the world is a tinderbox, and the flames of war, they cast a long shadow, one that reaches all the way to the United States.
The conflict in Ukraine, sparked by Russia's invasion, has shattered decades of peace in Europe. It's a conflict that has already claimed the lives of tens of thousands, displaced millions more, and sent shockwaves through the global economy. The United States, along with its NATO allies, has responded with unprecedented sanctions against Russia, crippling its economy and aiming to pressure Putin to end the bloodshed. But these sanctions come at a cost, driving up energy prices worldwide and putting a strain on already fragile economies.
Beyond the economic fallout, the war in Ukraine has exposed the fault lines in the global order. It's a stark reminder that we live in a world where might still often makes right, where international law is only as strong as the willingness of nations to enforce it. And then there's the ever-present threat of nuclear war, a threat that has loomed larger in recent months as Putin has made veiled threats about his nuclear arsenal.
But Ukraine is just one front in a much larger struggle, a struggle for global dominance, for influence, for resources. From the South China Sea to the Sahel region of Africa, new battle lines are being drawn, new alliances forged as nations jostle for position in a rapidly changing world. The United States, long the guarantor of global security, now faces a difficult balancing act.
Beyond the battlefields of conventional warfare, a different kind of conflict simmers, one fueled by ideology, ancient rivalries, and the struggle for power. Expert 2. These are the flashpoints, the potential triggers for wider conflict, and they demand our attention. In the Middle East, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict continues to fester, defying generations of diplomats. The recent escalation of violence with rocket attacks and airstrikes serves as a stark reminder that peace remains elusive. Expert 2. This conflict has ripple effects far beyond the region itself. It fuels anti-Western sentiment, provides fertile ground for extremist ideologies, and complicates American efforts to build stability. Then there's Iran, determined to reassert itself as a major power in the Middle East. Its nuclear ambitions and support for terrorist groups have put it on a collision course with the United States. Expert 2. the collapse of the Iran nuclear deal has only heightened tensions. The Biden administration now faces the task of preventing Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons while deterring its destabilizing actions. Meanwhile, in the South China Sea, a conflict driven by economic competition and territorial disputes is brewing. Expert 2. Beijing's claims to nearly the entire South China Sea have brought it into conflict with its neighbors and the United States. The United States has responded by increasing its military presence, conducting freedom of navigation operations, and deepening alliances. Expert 2. The goal is to deter Chinese aggression and preserve a free and open Indo-Pacific. But as China's military might grows, the potential for miscalculation, for an accidental clash, also grows. It's a dangerous game of brinkmanship, demanding careful diplomacy, a strong military deterrent, and a clear understanding of the stakes.
It's easy to think of the global economy as some abstract concept, something discussed by economists and politicians, but far removed from our daily lives. But the reality is, the global economy is our economy. When it sneezes, we catch a cold. And right now, the global economy is battling a nasty bug. Expert 1, the COVID-19 pandemic, like a rogue wave, upended global supply chains, shuttered businesses, and sent shockwaves through every corner of the world. The economic fallout has been swift and severe, plunging millions into poverty and exposing the fragility of our interconnected world. We saw it firsthand here in the United States as supermarket shelves sat empty, as businesses struggled to stay afloat, as unemployment soared to levels not seen since the Great Depression. And while the worst of the pandemic may be behind us, the economic scars remain, a stark reminder of how quickly our fortunes can change. Expert 1. But the pandemic was just the latest blow to a global economy already grappling with a host of challenges. Rising inflation, fueled by supply chain disruptions and soaring energy prices, is eating away at the purchasing power of families around the world. Interest rate hikes meant to tame inflation, risk tipping economies into recession, and the war in Ukraine has only exacerbated these problems, disrupting energy markets, driving up food prices, and adding to the uncertainty that plagues the global economy. Expert 1. For the United States, these global economic headwinds come at a delicate time. We're still recovering from the pandemic, our own inflation rate is at a 40-year high, and the Federal Reserve is walking a tightrope, trying to cool down the economy without sending it into a tailspin. The interconnectedness of the global economy means that we're not immune to these challenges. A recession in Europe, for example, would inevitably impact American businesses that rely on exports.
The year is 2023, and the world stage is anything but static. While we grapple with economic uncertainty and the specter of conflict, a different kind of drama unfolds, the drama of political upheaval. From the halls of power in long-standing democracies to the streets of nations yearning for change, the balance of power is shifting. We've seen it most dramatically in the sudden coups, the military takeovers that have shaken nations like Burkina Faso and Sudan. These are not just events on a distant continent, they are symptoms of a deeper malaise, a growing disillusionment with corrupt governments, failing economies, and a lack of opportunity. And these coups, they send ripples across the globe. Instability breeds instability. These power vacuums become breeding grounds for extremism, for terrorism, for organized crime. And the consequences, they inevitably reach our shores, whether it's through the flow of refugees, the disruption of trade, or the spread of dangerous ideologies. But it's not just coups that are reshaping the geopolitical landscape. We're seeing a global wave of democratic backsliding, a slow erosion of freedoms, a tightening grip of authoritarianism. From Hungary to India, from Brazil to the Philippines, leaders are chipping away at democratic institutions, silencing dissent, and consolidating power. This trend should concern us all, because when democracy retreats, when freedoms are curtailed, it's not just the citizens of those countries who suffer. It emboldens autocrats around the world. It undermines the rules-based international order that the United States has worked so hard to build and maintain.
So where do we go from here? The world, as we've seen, is a complex and often dangerous place. But it's also a world brimming with possibility, with resilience, with the human spirit's enduring capacity for hope and progress. Thank you for watching. Stay informed and stay safe. Don't tune out, don't turn away. Engage with the world, Stay informed about the events shaping our future, and use your voice to demand better from our leaders. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates on global news and its impact on America. Because in a world that often feels increasingly uncertain, knowledge is power. And together, we can navigate the challenges ahead and build a brighter future for all.